My name is Austin Naslin, and I'm also running for City Council here in Flagstaff. You have the opportunity to vote for 3 out of the 6 candidates, and I hope that you will choose me as one of those. I'm not going to speechify very much up here, because first of all, I'm not very good at it, and second of all, you guys have heard a lot of speeches already today. I'm getting better at it though. You know, the main reason that I'm running for City Council, well, there's a lot of important reasons, and it involves the values that we all share and a lot of the things that we've been talking about today. So I want to tell you a little bit more about myself personally. Many of you, I woke up with a really bad hangover 2 years ago after the November election and entered sort of a 6-8 week long fugue state in which I couldn't believe what was going on. And it took the events in Charlottesville to really snap me out of this pity party that I was having as I armchair quarterbacked my way through 2016. And I realized that I needed to take that sickness that was sitting like a knot in my stomach and do something, take charge and do something that I could actually do instead of just feeling helpless and detached from the world at large. So, you know, I'm just a normal, average, ordinary guy, lives here in Flagstaff. I have 10 years of community organizing experience as a professional community organizer, working with church basements in Sacramento, California. So that's a real and awesome and necessary skill set that I'm bringing to the table. But you know, the thing about running for office, which I'd like to share with you guys, is that if you have a vision and you're smart, you can do something like this. 2 years ago, I hiked the entire 800 miles of the Arizona Trail in one shot, north to south. I started in Utah and ended in Mexico, and it was such an amazing experience. And I'll tell you what, I'm bringing the same set of principles and the same organizing principles to my run for City Council as well. You know, I have an idea. It's an ambitious, crazy thing to think about doing, running for office. And it's been scary, and there's been moments when, you know, I've wondered if I could pull it off. But with a little bit of confidence and some experience of marching in the wilderness, right, and a roadmap, it's amazing what you can do when you just start putting one foot in front of the other and have a goal in mind. So, you know, I also have the support of my wife, Claire, who provisioned me along the way, and eventually, you know, you just set your feet down and head for the horizon, and you eventually cross the finish line. And that's the way, as just a local resident, I'm approaching this campaign. And you know, I also want to add that I think I'm bringing something very particular and special to this campaign, which is the mantra of sustainability. I believe I'm your sustainability candidate, and I really, really strongly value that word in all of its different meanings. You know, from sustainable economic development principles to water conservation to making sure we have habitat connectivity and social justice issues taken care of in town. Whenever you think of the word sustainable, I also want you to think of Austin Naslin. So that's all I'm going to say. I do have some rack cards in the back for you to take. Be sure to put those on your fridge. We all start voting on October 10th, right? So it's coming up a lot sooner than we realize, I think, at times. And I have bumper stickers as well if you want to support the campaign that way. And let me know if you want a yard sign. Approach me sometime during the afternoon here, and I'll get your information done. Thank you very much.
We can't keep her down. Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Devonna McLaughlin, and I am honored to serve as the CEO of Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona. We're a local nonprofit housing organization that's been working to increase affordable housing options in our community since 1990. And I have to say we've done a pretty good job, but you might have noticed it's not all that easy to buy or rent a place in Flagstaff these days. So we're here to talk about 422. Jamie does a wonderful job of this and told me I have the mic instead, so I'm a poor substitute, but there you have it. 422 would dedicate $25 million to improving housing affordability over the next 20 years. And that is a key, important, dedicated funding source for our community. Right now, our hands are tied in how we address this issue because it's an expensive, complicated issue. One, we don't have very much money to put towards it. Two, and we can't require developers to build affordable housing unless they're asking for something like a zoning change or something like that. So it's hard to address this issue. And the limited state and federal dollars we get, because we do get them, one, are limited, we don't get a ton of it, and two, they're limited to who they can serve. So HUD defines low income as 80% of the area median income, and we can't serve folks at 85% of the area median income with that money. And for rentals, it's 60% of the area median income. So when your average rental price is $1,400 a month for a 2-bedroom unit, more than folks under 60% AMI cannot afford rentals. And they struggle. And when housing is your biggest expense for a household budget each month, because it is, and it's so high because it is, it just causes families to be in a precarious situation. And we don't want families to be one paycheck away from losing their home or making tough decisions about medicine or transportation or childcare or housing, because that's where a lot of people are these days. And so 422, $25 million over 20 years. Here's the cool thing about this, is that it actually is not a Robin Hood tax. It does not increase your secondary property tax rate. So the secondary property tax rate now is 0.8366, 83.66 cents for every $100 of assessed valuation. I have that number memorized. You guys can too. It's been that rate for 12 years. And that rate is set by council, actually. And the rate is set in order to meet the needs or the voter-approved expenses, like 422. And so the smart guys at the city have said there's about $50 million of bonding capacity at that rate. So if you pass the bond, the rate's still 83.66 cents of $100 of assessed valuation. And if you don't pass the bond, the rate is 83.66 cents of $100 of assessed valuation. So we're not taking away or increasing property taxes in order to help others. We're just dedicating that bonding capacity towards meeting our community's greatest need, housing. And how great is it that we can work to solve a problem collectively without increasing taxes? That never happens, right? And so you see she wants it.
I do. I want to talk to you about this bonding capacity, because you might hear that we're spending our very last percentage of our bonding capacity. That is not true. We have $199 million in bonding capacity. The city sets a limit in order to keep that, our secondary property tax at
0.8366.
So what I'm saying to you is we do have the capacity, even with 25 million, going to something that will begin to turn this crisis around. Just begin to turn it around. We still have plenty of money to bond again, should we need to. The other piece that I do want to tell you about is, you know, I have been a participant, or I have been a receiver of a home down payment, and my partner and I would have not had the ability to buy a house. I was a school teacher, she was working cleaning houses, and we just didn't have the down. And thank goodness the city had a down payment allowance, and it changes lives. So let's all get together, let's change some lives and move this forward.
And I just want to say that there's a reason why we left the bond so open. We want to put together a committee of citizens of the city of Flagstaff from all over the city to decide how to administrate those dollars. One year it might be a down payment assistance loan that gets paid back. The next year it might have something to do with an apartment complex that needs to have affordable rentals. The very next year it might be some infrastructure that's needed in a certain part of town so we can achieve the density that's needed for low-income housing. So when it's said that it's open for a reason, so we can be flexible and meet the needs.
We need your stories, we need your vote, and we need your letters to the editor. Please, don't give up on us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot I was campaigning for Sandra Kennedy. I went way over my time. I didn't know there was a time person here, and so I skipped. So Sandra Kennedy actually, I think, needs no introduction to this crowd because we've met her, we've seen her many years. She's a former corporation commissioner, and she's running for Corporation Commission once again as a Democrat. And she believes in lower utility rates, and she wants to stop the corruption at the Corporation Commission and create more solar and renewable energy in Arizona, especially rooftop solar. So these are some of the things that she's working on. I want to just really tell you about my experience, how I explain this to people on the Navajo Reservation. On the Navajo Reservation and many other places, a lot of our people don't have electricity and we don't have running water. And APS is our provider here on the Navajo Reservation, and they closed up their storefronts. So it's not so bad that if you're living in town and you've got a computer and you're slightly computer literate, you go online, put in your credit card, and pay for it. That's not happening on the Navajo Reservation. Because they're closing the storefronts, the grandma and grandpas that used to take their cash, pay their bill, and it's done, have come to a closed door and the building is deserted. And they don't know what's going on, understand it. And yet APS has taken home record profits this past year, $480 million. And it is on the of people like those in District 7, the mom and pops. This is what happens. They're told, they're given a 1-800 number. They call the 1-800 number. And our representatives used to be Navajo and Hopi that would take their money. Now they're listening to English or Spanish version of what they need to do. Then they're told to go to the website. So imagine if you're a grandma and grandpa, you went to go pay your bill, you can't pay your bill. You're still looking for another storefront to pay your money. They shut off the electricity, all the food in your fridge goes bad, and then you have to go drive to Flagstaff or somewhere else, and you have to track down people to give them money. And so it is a crime, I think. And so when I've been out on the reservation with Sandra, and we explained this, and she understood immediately what the need is. And this is what we're all about as Democrats. So I just wanted to say that for Sandra Kennedy, and thank you, Shannon.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Bates, and I've worked at the community college for about 24 years. I helped get the community college started by going out and gathering petitions, just like we do to get all of our great candidates onto the ballot. So I retired a couple of years ago as an emeritus in science, and I'm continually engaged with the community college, not because I've worked there so long, but because an incredible need for our community. Now we have coming up Proposition 417. Can you all remember that? 417. 417. 417. Oh wait a minute, is that where I have to get out of bed? No, that's what you need to vote for. Now why? The community, we talk about education all the time. And we need money to support the Flagstaff schools, the state schools, all through the educational system. Arizona is near the very, very bottom in terms of appropriations for education. But here in Coconino County, do you all know that you're paying approximately $1.03 per $100,000 value on a home? That's per month, $1.03 per month for $100,000 value. So over a year, you're going to be paying $36 for your home if it's $100,000 value. Where does that money come from? It has been coming from what was a bond that was used to build the college, the campus. And if you all haven't been there, go over. It's a great place. I worked there. I love it. But the point behind it is, if you value your firemen or your police officers, that's where they're coming from. Approximately 80% of our firemen and police officers are coming from our community college. Over 90% of your healthcare workers are coming from the community college. They're staying here. They get educated here, they stay here. They're part of our community. There are programs that are coming up in early childhood education. And you know, my grandfather used to tell me, if you think education is expensive, try living without one, right? Because you lose the capacity then to get a good job and to move on. My daughter's going into education, and the same course at NAU costs 10 times as much as it does at the community college. Well, of course, she went through the community college as far as she could, but the point behind it is how many other kids are trying to get an education and they simply can't afford the university. They can't afford to be taking out those loans and going into debt. So what's going on here is that the bond for the community college building will come to an end in 2019. And the college is desperately in need of that continuation. This is not a tax increase, folks. This is just a continuation. We want to continue the dream. We want to continue to support education in this state. And the way to do that is to vote for Prop 417 and all other state initiatives for education. Because it's not just K through 12, it's not just community college, it's all the way through the system. Now let me give you a couple of comparisons. Here in Flagstaff, here in Coconino County, we are the lowest funded community college in the state. Maricopa gets 3 times more money for the same value of home as we do here in Flagstaff, or here in Coconino County. You go to Northland Pioneer College. Anybody know that? It's over there in Winslow. Bobby Taylor might have, gone to school there. He might have worked there. Did you work over at Northland Pioneer College? Yes. Okay. There's a graduate over there. He was paying 4 times the amount of money for his home that we're paying here in Coconino County. So what's happening is that our president over there, Colleen Smith, has gone back to the original designation and said, hey, let's reinvigorate the training, the job skills programs, the construction, the education programs and so forth. She's gone back to the original mandate, and that's where we're going with this money that will continue the college. So please talk about continuation. Finally, I want all of you to go out, get educated about the propositions. The candidates, yes, but also the propositions. And then when you're in the grocery store, you see a friend, walk up, start talking to him. Ask him, hey, are you registered to vote? Hey, have you considered these propositions that are on the ballot? No, I haven't. It's not that you have to convince them. You don't have to push them. But get them to go out and get educated, and then get them to say, yes, I will get educated about these ballots, these propositions, these candidates, and I will vote.